Yes, I love this land. It takes my breath away.
And I'm Steve.
And welcome to Texas 10. Steve and I have been traveling all over Texas, visiting every county seat, and there are 254. But the best part about traveling Texas is learning what's great about it.
Texas is great for many, many reasons, but high on the list are the rodeo stuff. And we are very lucky today because we're going to drill down on one of the rodeo events that is... It's actually my favorite to watch.
Stole my thunder. It is my favorite. And one of it's because I love girl power. And in the rodeos, as you know, there's a lot of male events.
A lot of testosterone in a rodeo.
Yes. But I love the barrel racing. So we've got some really great barrel racers. We've got Halen Lyde. We've got Louisa Adams. And Gia Turner. So we've kind of got a multi-generational barrel racing group here.
Well, and so multi-generational, that's one great thing about going to a rodeo. I mean, you see kids age 5 and you see guys telling rodeo stories. They could be 80, 85 or whatnot. And barrel racing, I'm going to switch real quick and say, if you're ever in Fort Worth, go to the Cowgirl Hall of Fame. And that's a great sort of place to look and get the sense of history that goes on around it. But barrel racing, I don't know why it's a timed event, right? And so any event where you're competing against time, there's a certain amount of drama built in. And it's timed, and it's a little bit dangerous, and so it's just so much fun to watch. I really get into it when I'm at a rodeo.
So let's start with Halen. So Halen, you are a barrel racer. In fact, you qualified for the NFR, isn't that right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit. Let's just start from the beginning. When did you start horseback riding, and when did you decide that you wanted to barrel race?
I started riding horses when I was about 11 years old. I got my first horse, and I started with Western Pleasure and did a few little local competitions in that before I decided that going fast was more exciting.
You like the speed. Okay, now explain to me what Western Pleasure is. I don't really know.
Well, there's different kind of pleasure events, and these were different courses where you could do little trail events, and you had to lope around and do different patterns.
Gotcha.
All right, so let me ask real quick here. You said you like to go fast, right? Mm-hmm. How old were you when you decided, okay, we're going to kick it up a notch here in terms of speed?
Oh, it was all pretty quick. Probably 12 or 13.
Right. All right.
Well, horses are big. Were you ever afraid?
No.
Yeah. So what was your first horse's name?
My very first horse was Midnight.
Oh, that's a good
That's
name.
A cool
And
name.
was he black?
I think he was at one point, but he was so old. I think he was like kind of graying a little bit. He was a very old horse.
I get that. I get that a lot. Yeah.
So, Louisa, I know you're already barrel racing too, aren't you?
Yes,
How old were you when you first got on a horse?
Well, I used to get on whenever I was with my dad, so maybe 2 whenever I got on with my dad.
So that was your dad, Mr. Adams, and he would have you in front of him on the saddle. That's how you got started. Is your dad a good horse rider?
Yes.
You sure? Okay.
Who's better, you or your dad?
Me.
You heard it here, Laramie. Louisa is now surpassed you. Louisa, how old are you?
7.
7. And so when did you start actually competing?
Probably whenever I was like 4 or 5.
Wow, I cannot believe that. And so I'm going to ask everyone this question. What was your first horse's name? Or you said earlier, what was your first horse? Was it a pony?
Yeah.
And what was your pony's name?
Red.
Red. Oh, I love that. All right, Gia, your turn. When did you start riding?
I was 7 or 8.
And what made you interested in riding horses?
I don't know. I just liked it.
You just liked it, right? So what was your first horse's name?
Cowboy.
Good one. So
That's 3 great horse names there.
Midnight.
Cowboy, Red, and Midnight. I love that.
yeah. So, okay, so you were 11 or 12. You were a little bit older than Louisa. So, Louisa, I expect big things for you if you started when you were 3. So, tell us a little bit about the horses. I mean, how important is the training that they have? How many horses do you have? Is there one horse that you usually compete with? Just give us a little bit of background on the horses and how you train with them.
Okay, well, to start, the horses are everything. We can't do anything that we do without great horses. As for the training, we all probably ride quarter horses, and they can be trained by other professionals, or we can train them. So sometimes you'll buy the horse already trained. Sometimes you'll buy young horses and you'll train them. They could have come from other disciplines, like maybe your horse is roped on before, and then we can start running the barrels on them. So lots of options there. As for me personally, Keeper, my number 1, we raised and trained, and he's now 12. I run barrels currently on 3 horses. And then I have a couple of young ones that are in the process and need to be hauled. But when we are going to rodeos, it is very hard to get them to see the sights that they need to see in order to get ready.
All right. So can I jump in
Yeah,
here?
please.
Okay. So a couple of questions. First of all, for the uninitiated, what is a quarter horse? You hear thoroughbred, quarter horse. What's the difference?
Quarter horses are called quarter horses because of their quickness, their quick speed at a quarter mile, whereas thoroughbreds accelerate over greater distances.
Okay. All right. And so you were talking about hauling. I'm 63 years old, and I still wave at the horses when you pass the trailer. I mean, do you get a lot of that when you're moving around? Tell us about the trailer and all that sort of stuff.
I recently had somebody come up to my window as I was driving down a highway to let me know that I had a window down on my trailer because I had one of the face windows down and not the others.
Yes.
And they were concerned about me having a window down.
Right. You cannot help but look at a horse trailer and have a good feeling when you see the horse trailers, right? So let's talk to these two a little bit.
So Louisa, what horse? Who do you ride now when you compete?
Pirate.
Is that your first horse that you've competed with?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so how did you choose Pirate, or how did your parents figure out that, or your trainer? Do you have a trainer, or do you have a coach, or what's it called in barrel racing?
So I have a coach. His name's Mr. Zach, and he had this horse, and it was Pirate, and I started riding him a lot, and then my parents asked me if I wanted to buy him, and so I did.
If you wanted to buy him. Wow, that's
well,
great.
they got it.
I was going to say, wow, Louisa, we've got to talk if you're buying horses already.
No, if they want to.
Okay,
Gotcha.
all right.
And so that's how I found him.
All right. And so, Gia, tell us a little bit about the horse you ride right now.
Well, she's sassy.
Is that her name, or is she just
No,
she's just sassy?
Her name's Beyonce.
Oh, yes.
And I got her because I rode a bunch of different horses to try and find which one I liked, and then I liked her, so I got her.
What did you like about
I
her?
was just-
What made Beyonce your horse?
one of the horses I rode, I forgot his name, but he was just a little bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
And so and then I rode a different horse, and different horse, and different horse, and different horse.
Mm-hmm.
And then I rode Beyonce, and she just like kind of listened to me better.
That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the feel that the relationship between the rider and the horse is really important.
It is.
So,
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit, Halen, about how you look at a horse and the person. The girls obviously had a feel for Pyra and Beyonce, and I hope Beyonce listens one day and finds out she's got a horse named after her. I love that. But it was clear that they had a feel about this is the right horse for me. So tell us about that and how you figure that out, and just how do you figure out what's the right relationship?
Sometimes it takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it clicks initially and other times it doesn't. One of my horses I bought after he was trained that I currently run. And it takes a while to get to know them. And it's kind of like a dog, how you've got to get to know your dog and they get to know you, and then you're friends and have this understanding.
Well, let me talk about the actual barrel race itself. All right. So I'm guessing most people have seen a barrel race, but tell us what the rules are, right? So what you're trying to accomplish and what you can do and what you can't do to complete the course.
It sounds like a pretty simple game. The objective is obviously to go around the 3 barrels as fast as you can.
And they're in a
hitting
triangle.
one. They're, yes, we call it a clover leaf pattern.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to the right barrel or the left barrel first.
Okay, something I didn't know.
You'll turn either the right barrel or the left barrel one direction, and then the other 2 the other direction.
Okay.
It gets really complicated when you get down to how to be the fastest to get around all 3 of them, but the main point of the game isn't too complicated.
Right. So what are you thinking as you're getting set to go? What's your mindset? What are the things that are going through your mind that's going to make it a good race?
Just to perform the task ahead, regardless of where you go. If the pattern is a huge standard where people tend to clock a 17.2, or a tiny arena like at Stockyards up in Fort Worth where it's a 13.2. It's just
okay. So it's not a standard.
I did not
distance.
know that.
No, it changes depending on the arena.
Huh.
But there's still just 3 barrels out there that you're turning, and so your mindset is just to get to where you need to put your horse in order for your horse to do their best job, or you to help them how you need to.
All right.
So
So,
I think-
Louisa and
I do want to ask one question
okay,
about that.
Go ahead.
So I think about like in track, there's world records, there's national records. So there's really not like a world record in barrel racing if they're in different size arenas, or
So there's arena records.
okay.
Mhm.
Also, we do have a record on a standard pattern, which is what we consider. It has a certain measurement, and regardless of how big the arena gets, with the exception of Pendleton, the WPRA specifically asks that the pattern be set in a standard pattern
Okay.
if it's a great big arena that allows for that.
Okay.
Of course, if the arena is smaller, then it
Okay,
doesn't
makes
matter.
Okay.
Okay, so now we want to hear what goes through your mind. So y'all are kind of just starting. Louisa, how long have you been barrel racing now? Do you know how many years, or a year, or 6 months, or?
You're asking our calendar
7.
questions. A little while, right?
No.
You don't know?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay. So what do you think when you're, I watch and you're kind of at the start line and you wait for them to tell you to go, what's going through your head?
Like, our coach normally says to make up our spots, like where we're looking.
Okay.
So that kind of goes through.
Mm-hmm.
Are you scared?
No.
What about you, G? Are you nervous before a race?
I was my first time, but I'm not anymore.
So that's an interesting question. So the first time you did, how did you decide, okay, this is something I want to try?
Well, I didn't really decide. I just kind of made myself do it, and then I liked it.
All right. What do you like about it? What's interesting to you about it?
I like watching other people do it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I like just doing it.
Okay, so
Riding
I like
horses.
that you say that, because I'm going to tell you, there's nothing quite like watching a great barrel racer, and the speed of it and the sort of the line of it is just it looks really, really, I'm going to date myself, it looks really cool. I mean, that's all I can say is it looks when you say you liked watching it, do you realize now that you're one of those people that you liked?
Yes.
Okay.
So have y'all gotten into it enough to where you're following any particular riders or anything, or do you not really know the riders in the rodeos right now on the circuit? You don't really know, so you're just doing it.
Yeah.
So where do y'all compete? Do you compete at small town rodeos, or where do you find the competitions for your age?
We do not rodeos. They're smaller rodeos, I guess. But it doesn't matter if you win or lose or anything, because they say it's just for practice.
Uh-huh.
And
Have you gotten better?
yes.
Yes. A lot better?
Yes.
All right. What about you, Louisa? Are you improving?
Yeah.
Like, when you do really well, how does that feel? Do you know it, or do you wait for them to tell you the time before you know whether you did well or not?
I mean, sometimes you have a time set in your mind and you want to try to make that time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I try to do.
All right.
Oh, very good.
Mm-hmm.
So how have y'all won any?
Yeah.
So what do you get when you win?
Belt buckles.
Belt
and
buckles.
watches.
I was saying I tried to wear the biggest belt buckle that I have, and it's not very impressive, so we're just going to keep it hidden. So Louisa, can you show us your belt buckle? It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Look at that.
Mm.
That is very cool. So that's, instead of trophies, y'all get buckles. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Halen, I'd like to know a little more about the circuit and how you choose, where you ride, and kind of is what the season is, and tell us a little bit more about that.
That can get very complicated. There are a million different ways to play all the different games within barrel racing. So for rodeo specifically, there's it's broken into circuits, like you spoke of. So you can rodeo within your certain circuit. Technically, mine would be Texas, and then there's a different set of things where there's tour rodeos, which qualify you to other big rodeos, and all of it can go together, or
Right. You're just building points, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so,
And so
you
there's
can build a
different ways
point.
to do it.
You can build a point at a small local rodeo, or one where there's thousands of people watching.
Now you might keep in mind that by points is money.
Right.
So
Well, I don't
our
want to be
points
crass about it.
right.
but-
so like the smaller rodeos are going to have a smaller payout.
Sure,
Purse,
right.
yeah.
So I have, over the past really 5 years, studied what works best for me and my horse, and we tend to perform better under more pressure. So Keeper in particular, I take to the bigger rodeos. I really enjoy the tour rodeos. In Texas, those include Houston and San Antonio and Fort Worth,
Right.
and I'm pretty sure Austin is one. And so those all contribute to getting enough that is actually points that get you onto a big rodeo. That's the State Fair of Washington and Puyallup. And so there's different ways, but I like those tour rodeos.
So what's your favorite rodeo that you've raced at?
I felt like y'all might ask me that. And that was a really tough question. There's a few, but there's a few real experience rodeos. And I think I have to give it to Salinas, California.
Wow. I always hear about Calgary, and you hear about the big rodeos. And I've obviously never been. It's on my bucket list. Although all the Texas ones, I have been to Houston. I've been to San Antonio. I've never been to the Fort Worth rodeo, and I really want to. But you just hear about these iconic experiences, and I can only imagine how much fun it is to go to one of those.
Cheyenne is really good to go watch too. So like that'll give you all the rodeo feels.
So when you're getting ready to go, are you aware of the crowd? And because those are big events, like you talk about the Houston Rodeo, there can be a lot of people there. George Strait's coming out to play and all the rest of that. I mean, what's your focus like when you're in a big event like that?
It doesn't matter. Keeper does like it loud. So to me, it's just a matter of giving my horse the best opportunity.
All right.
So
I want to know, okay, so girls, Halen's going to be at the NFR this year in Las Vegas. So she's obviously pretty darn good. Is there anything you want to ask her? You've got her here. I'm putting you on the spot.
Are you going on the left or the right side of the barrels?
I run to the right on all my horses currently.
What do you run on?
The right.
The right. So is it a feel, or is it more like if you're right-handed or if you're left-handed, or how do you pick which way to go?
It depends on the horse, but there are some setups that are better suited for left-handed horses or right-handed horses. So
I'm learning so much.
Right.
Okay, Louisa, do you have a question you want to ask? That was a good one, a technical question.
No.
No.
Okay.
So, who have been kind of your idols as you've been racing? I
don't know. I'm pretty much, like they said, we kind of stay to ourselves, and but I did have a mentor growing up who helped me a lot with horses in general, not necessarily so much barrel racing, but definitely it takes help from somebody. You don't just jump out there.
I loved when we were talking before. I was asking you when you started, and you said you had to beg a long time. You were a little bit older, so you were.
Yeah, I think I started begging my parents at around 11, and I did get a horse that belonged to myself before I was 12. So I guess I was pretty persuasive. Or feel like I was.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of cowboys and cowgirls of the competitive sort, they grow up on ranches and that, or at least they have access to that and whatnot. I know you told us you live here in Waco proper, but did you have access to a place where you could ride whenever you wanted, that sort of stuff, or did you all have to be scheduled?
I took lessons for a little while at a place, and then my dad had a friend who let us keep our horses at his place.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I got my start. I do want everybody to know that it's really great if you have those things, but you don't have to. You can.
Well, you're living proof.
Make it happen. Yeah, you can make it happen if you want to make it happen.
All right. So where do you all keep your horses?
I keep them at my house.
All right.
I keep my horse at her house.
At her house. Okay.
But I ride like every day pretty much.
Right.
That was a question I had. Right. So we're talking about the riding, and everyone just thinks about seeing you at the rodeo, but what kind of time commitment does it take for you? I mean, you girls, I know them from my school, and so I know you're busy with school, but it's not something typical that most kids do. What kind of time commitment has it taken to have horses? And tell us a little bit about just having the horses.
Go ahead, Gia.
It's fun to have a horse because it's fun to go fast on them.
Yeah.
And it takes time to know how your horse is, how it works and stuff.
Who takes care of your horses? I mean, do you have to go out and see them every day, or do you?
You have to ride them most days, or else if you don't ride them for a while, then they're going to be fresh and they're not going to listen very well.
And then like just caring for them, grooming them. I mean, because tell me kind of the routine. So if you're going to go out to ride, what do you have to do to prepare your horse to ride? And then what do you have to do when you're finished riding? Because I don't know very much. I'm a city girl, I admit it. And I'm also might be a little bit afraid of a really big animal. So I don't know that I'd be one that would ride a lot. But I know that there's a lot to caring for them before you ride them, after you ride them. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, like, after you ride them, sometimes if you actually work them really hard, sometimes you have to give them a bath. Like, because we have to do that, like, every day after.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So, in terms of the horses, right? And Pirate and Beyonce and your first horses. I mean, do you consider them animals or friends, or what's the connection between you and your horse?
I consider him as my friend and my animal, and just like somebody that will just
Do you talk to
have
your
fun
horse?
with me. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? You talk to your horse?
Yes, I talk
She
to my
sings
horse.
to her horse.
Yeah, I
I
have
sing to
to
my
sing
horse.
to my horse. My instructor makes me sing to her.
Oh, okay? Well, of course, it's
Right.
Beyonce.
Right. So what would you sing to Beyonce?
The duck walked up to the lemonade stand.
The duck walked up to the lemonade stand.
All
Are you
right.
brave enough to give us a little bit of that?
The duck walked up to the lemonade stand and he said to the man running the stand, "Hey, bump, 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 you got any grapes?" The man said, "No, I just sell lemonade. It's nice and fresh and homemade. Would you like any?" The duck said, "No, thanks." Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle, waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle, waddle.
All right. So what was your song? What did you sing?
My horses do not want me to sing to them.
Steve, if Steve had horses,
Oh,
they
no,
would not want them
Yes,
to sing.
I'm right there with you. There's no singing going on.
Do you ever play any Beyonce for Beyonce?
She probably doesn't know who that is.
Right.
Well, you need to just bring out your phone or something and play a little Beyonce for her.
All right. So I'm going to ask Halen this question. It's sort of connected to what we were just talking about. You said you started begging for a horse or whatnot. What do you think was it that was inside of you that you knew that was something that you could have a connection with? I mean, how does that happen when you're just living in Waco and you just want this animal?
Yeah, I think you're right about connection. I think it's just a search for that.
Right.
And I knew that I've always been a huge animal lover and thought that would be a place I could find that.
And I'm guessing that turned out to be
I was
true.
right. My parents were really worried I was going to quit.
Mhm.
Like I quit the piano.
Right.
And so that was their hesitation in me getting horses. But clearly I'm not a musical person. But yeah, the horses were, it
Mhm.
stuck. It
Right,
stuck
and
really
so now,
hard.
okay, so now you're traveling around with several horses, right? So
To the rodeos, I take 2.
okay, right. So you're taking a couple horses and whatnot, and that's a lot of windshield time when you're going places. Do you have conversations like what's your relationship now with your horses when you're not competing, training?
Oh, I talk to everyone's horses.
Mhm.
But yeah, I just like them. I ride them every day.
Right.
And they are my companions, best friends. For 4 months of this year, it was my kids came with me during the summer, but it was us on the road, just a lot of time with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you have 2 boys, and do they love horses like you do, or love animals? I think your husband's a vet. It's all in the family here. Are they drawn to animals like you are?
They are, and they're really good with animals. They're not as excited about it or hungry for it as I am. And I don't know if that's because they've just always been around it or because they're boys and they're wild and they just
All right, so let's talk about the end. We have starters here and getting a little bit older, and then we obviously have a superstar getting to the NFR. That's the National Finals Rodeo, right? That's what it stands for. what does that mean? I mean, to you, when you found out, okay, I have made it that far, what did that mean to you?
I set out on this because I feel like my horse deserves it. He's really great. So to have been able to have kept it up and kept up his care to keep him on the level that he needed to be on over the past 2 years was just a really fulfilling to reach the goal that we set.
I bet.
I just am so impressed with the sport is almost a selfless sport. You know, you see other athletes in other games and it's about them. And I hear all three of you talk about that it's about your horse and loving your horse. And that's not the answer I expected from you. You know, I expect you to say, oh, I've always wanted to get to the NFR. And for you to say, I want to be there for my horse, actually makes me kind of emotional.
That's very cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
So, and I really want to be able to watch you. Can we go to Vegas? We haven't been in a while.
When is it?
It'll be
When
fun.
is it?
It's December 5th through 14th.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I'm not serious.
All right, okay. December
Yeah.
5th through the 14th. So do you run every day? I mean, how does it work
Yeah, all
when you
10
get there?
nights. Yeah.
Wow.
And do they average your score, or each night?
Yeah,
Is there
each
a winner
night.
or?
I believe it pays 6 places each night. That may be wrong. Anyways, but yeah, there's a payout each night, and then there's an average.
Right. And then how many qualifiers were there?
15.
15.
Wow.
Out of all the rodeoers, that's pretty impressive.
Out of about how many barrel racers are competitive
I think
about?
Aaron actually looked it up today. There was 800 that made money in the WPRA.
Wow,
Mhm.
that's impressive. Is this your first time to reach it to the NFR?
Yes.
Yeah. So what is your goals? I mean, do you see this as just something that's fun right now, or do you see can you picture yourself racing when you're Halen's age?
I want to keep going.
What about you, Louisa?
Well, I've been getting faster times, so.
Way to go. Yeah.
That's all it takes.
So, you know, this has been so much fun, and I really can't wait to watch. And I know that the NFR, you can watch every event. You know, I have my sister and her kids are into rodeo, and so I encourage y'all to watch when it's on. And I really am excited. I'm going to watch these girls race next week. I'm very excited about that. And I'm just excited to see where you guys go. And I'm excited to continue, now that I know a little more, to watch you and watch your horse. Remind me your horse's name?
Keeper.
Keeper.
Yes.
And Keeper's a keeper. I love that. What a
Right.
great name.
Mm-hmm. So you said Keeper's 12?
Yes.
Like, how long is a competitive
That's a good question.
horse? I mean, is 12 old, young, middle age?
Middle.
Mm.
Some of them, the youngest ones I think you'll see at the NFR, I think there's one that's 5. And then the oldest is 15, I believe.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
So everyone knows the rider's horses as well as they know the rider, or would you say people know the horse better than they know the rider?
I mean, in my case, I'm sure they know the horse better than me.
Well, after the NFR, that
Don't
may
sell
not
yourself
be
short. And will you keep competing after this year? Is this?
I will.
Yeah.
As long as he wants to go, or as one of my others wants to go, then we'll give him a chance to go.
Well, this has been so much fun, and I cannot wait to watch Halen at the NFR. I don't know if Steve's going to get me to Vegas. I'm going to work on him for that,
Right.
even though we're about Texas. And we hope that you will continue to follow us on Texas 10.
Yes, and if you go to our website, and we'll have field guides to different county seats and whatnot, and almost always we list the major events for that county. And almost always one of the major events is the rodeo in that county. Tell you where it is, when it is. And if you haven't been to one, go. If you're out visiting Texas and whatnot, if you're in a smallly populated county, go to the rodeo. It is so much fun, and the barrel racing's the best.
So thanks for joining us today at Texas 10, and we hope to see you again soon as we travel around Texas and bring you great stories and people from Texas.
Bye. And thanks, Halen,
Thanks.
Louisa, and Gia.
Y'all were great.
Bye.
And I love this land. Oh, it takes my breath away. From the Palo Duro to the Gulf Coast plain. From the heart of the hill country to the piney wood shade. I love this land. It takes my breath away.